Good Sunday morning, everyone. It is Schuyler Callihan. That is Christopher Hall, and this is a new episode here between the ears. It's the morning after West Virginia 38, Oklahoma State 14. Chris, I don't think anyone saw this coming. I think even the most optimistic West Virginia fan would have probably told you were drunk or you were on something if you were to say that West Virginia was going to win this game the way they did, the fashion they did from the very get-go. This was just a complete dominant game. I don't know that off the top of my head if there's been a more complete dominant away game under Neil Brown and this regime. This was just a all around good game from start to finish. This was something I did not expect.
It's probably their most dominant Big 12 win. I would, no matter home or away, I would take a
BYU
guess.
maybe last year, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. BYU wasn't as good. Not to say
True.
Oklahoma State played well, but I mean, yeah, who saw this coming? I mean, Jaheim White looked like the Jaheim White that you expected. CJ Johnson looked like CJ Donaldson against Pitt. But you're seeing Jaheim White come along. Nico talked about him in the fall camp. Looked like just like I saw him fall camp. He looked poised in the pocket, delivered a dart. It's exactly what you expected from him. Had some nice runs. So you got the contributions from a lot of different guys on Saturday. I mean, look at the offensive lineman went down for a series or a few snaps. The defensive guys, the secondary looks a lot better all of a sudden. So yeah, it's starting to come together defensively. As great as the offense look what the defense did. I mean, that was an unbelievable. Only giving up 14
Yes.
points, and that last touchdown, it was a good play, but it really by that point it was out of reach. So yeah, that was a really dominant performance by West Virginia, and hopefully they can build off that. Garrett Green said they still haven't played their best football yet, so they'll get to prove it here in the coming weeks.
One of the things that I said on the walkthrough game day show last week with Gene was it was a stat that I felt was kind of true, but I had to go look it up just to back myself up, and it was the time of possession has not been the same as what it was a year ago. West Virginia led the Big 12 in TOP last year. This year it's like 26 or 27 minutes. It's a 3.5 to 4 minute difference from what they were a year ago. A lot of that obviously is just converting third downs and staying on the field. Well, they did that exactly on Saturday. They were 9 of 15 on third down. They held the ball for 42 minutes. I'm not saying you're going to have to do that every single week and hold the ball for 40 plus minutes, but if they can get back to controlling the clock, playing with their own pace, and holding the ball for 33, 32 minutes, I think that's probably the formula or the recipe that you're going to want to have here in these upcoming games, especially against Iowa State, who's a very salty defense. They're a very similar team offensively. If you can hold the ball for that long, I think that's going to be a key moving forward.
Yeah, I think what's the most impressive part is that stat is 23 minutes of it was the second half when the game was
Yeah,
well in hand. They
just kept
were
running the
not
ball.
they were able to just hold on the ball the whole time. So yeah, obviously when you can hold on to the ball and you continue to score the way they did, you can still control the game in the second half without putting up a bunch of points. If I'm not mistaken, they held the ball for the last 8.5 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So I mean that's dominating. Yeah, you can dominate on the scoreboard, but yeah, you can dominate in time of possession and not give them any opportunity. It also goes back to the defense of getting off the field and not letting them get any rhythm offensively. Got 2 sacks on a kid that hadn't been sacked but one time coming
Yeah.
into the game. So
And coming from
almost
unlikely sources too, two interior guys and Hammer
Mulba,
on the
yeah,
Mulba.
both of them just kept battling on those sacks. Never gave up. Just kept, always talk about high motor up front. Man, that defensive front continues to get stronger and stronger every single week. And Eddie V is going to come back at some point in this season, and it's only going to add to the arsenal at this point. So, yeah, there's a lot of positives, and
Yeah.
I think offensively it's what you expected. You're starting to see more consistency with this group, but what a turnaround for the defense to go on the road and do something like that was tremendous. Like they didn't give up really big explosive plays. Yes, that last touchdown. But other than that, I mean, to keep them completely out of rhythm, especially when they got some momentum there. Credit to the offense there, end of the first half as well. As soon as they got some momentum, they went right down and scored. Oklahoma State, okay, they can build off that momentum, right, offensively, but defense just shut them down right off the bat. So,
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, we're wondering what this defense is going to look like, and all of a sudden, they've really changed things up. Leslie going in the box may have really helped him kind of see the field a little better and just get a better feel for everything that's going on within the defense. And, there's three levels to it, and I think really the way he's kind of like really breaking it down, with the pass rush up front, and they're kind of keeping everything up in front of them on the back end and making them forced to make throws. And Bowman made some really good throws in some of those zone coverages. I mean, those had to be right on the money because they had it underneath and they
Especially the
had them
touchdown
on the
pass.
back. Yeah, so you're going with this defense right now. All of a sudden, you're going to have to get a really good quarterback to kind of fit into these windows. And it showed yesterday that Bowman, he struggled all year with accuracy, and it showed yesterday that look, if you're going to have to throw strikes against this defense right now.
I give a huge tip of the hat to Jordan Leslie and that whole defense just because of the confidence. Like your confidence could have been shattered after the backyard brawl, the way you let that thing fall apart late in the game. And then the Kansas game, you fall behind 11. There's 5 minutes left in the game. They could have easily, and I'm not just talking the defense, actually, this is the whole team. They could have mailed it in down 11 against Kansas, and they did the complete opposite. They fought back, they scrapped their way back to win that one. They go into the bye week, recover, get healthy, and then they put out this performance. And I think really ever since they went down 11 against Kansas, this has been a completely different looking football team. And look, I understand Oklahoma State's probably not going to be in the Big 12 race already this year now that they're 0-3 in league play. And people were saying, oh, they're not that good. They're still going to win some games, but Ollie Gordon is still Ollie Gordon. And I get he's only averaged, like a little over 3 yards a carry this season, but at some point he's going to break loose, you would assume. And you still, until you go out there and actually do the job, like you still have to worry about him. So to hold him to 50 yards on 13 carries, that's still tremendous. And then for Alan Bowman, I, I understand too, he's had his issues, but they came into the day third in the Big 12 in passing yards with over 320 yards a game. You still have to go out there and stop it. They limited him to 116 yards, 2 picks, and they got him yanked again. So hats off to Jordan Leslie and that bunch. That they're going to have some more tough opponents coming up, but I think you're starting to see that this defense is starting to figure things out. They're learning how to play with each other. This is kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago. When you have so many new faces in that back end coming from different places, Duquesne, Northwestern, Jacksonville State. I mean, there's so many different guys. Colorado State. I mean, there's so many transfer.
Cincinnati. Just get them.
Cincinnati. Like there,
Get out.
there's so many different pieces coming from so many different backgrounds to try and mesh it all together. It's not going to be a perfect product in week one. Having that bye week come after week four was, I think, perfect timing. Now we're going to start to see this thing kind of really take off here defensively. And if they play like that defensively, they're going to have a chance to make some noise in the Big 12.
Yeah, you mentioned they held him to 36 yards rushing overall. I mean, who would have thought? I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about they held him to 191 yards passing. Who would have thought? I mean,
Well, that's like I said in
that's crazy.
my article this morning. If you were to tell me there's a 389 to 36 rushing edge, I would have been like, oh crap, Ollie Gordon bounced back and had a game like he did a year ago.
Yeah, you went into the game and I think he was only averaging 66, 60 yards a game. You're like, well, he'll get above his average against West
Yeah,
Virginia, and he doesn't
surely.
even get to it. And again, credit to that defense. We talked about kind of like the keys of the game, what the defense had to do, and they managed first down, they managed second down, and got them in third and longs where they got those sacks. And you kind of look at it as a whole, like they haven't been great offensively, but they've played complementary football all year long enough to keep them into that Utah game where I think they ended up losing by 3. Kansas State got away from them. And if you want to start comparing scores, like all of a sudden, like, okay, West Virginia may be
Up
on the same level as Kansas State right now. So, yeah, it's sometimes, yeah, everyone kind of got hyped up going into the season, but it wasn't a finished product. Obviously, coming into the season, there were still a lot of the question marks. You thought you could probably still win against Penn State since it was at home. Pitt kind of stole another one from West Virginia, and it was all doom and gloom. But now all of a sudden, you're starting to see it come together, Again, maybe Oklahoma State's given up on the season. Maybe they gave up early in this game after things didn't go right. But they'll have another big test, and it's going to be a big test not just on the field for West Virginia, but mentally this week. You've got 2 wins. You can put a third one here, so to get the
Handle
winning
success.
a winning streak. Yeah, handle this success. They're saying the right things, obviously, after the game, but we've seen it before, and especially coming into a night game and a big game, that they don't perform the way that you think that they're going to perform. So it's going to obviously Iowa State's playing really well. They struggled with against Baylor early. It could be a game if West Virginia jumps out on them early. It could really snowball for Iowa State, but they have to get off to a good start. So yeah, there was so much good in this game. It's almost hard to believe, but I will
It
say
is.
negative. I will say one negative thing that I
Special teams.
keep harping on: kick the damn ball through the end zone.
Thank
Stop
you.
getting cute. What's the extra 2 or 3 yards really matter? Because they almost caught momentum. And
Twice.
good job on Zay. And we've talked about the defense. Zay Jennings comes through and cuts underneath that post and gets the interception. Good defense ended up saving a special teams
Or
play.
Jaheim Joseph. Jaheim Joseph.
Jaheim Joseph, yes. Jaheim Joseph, a bad special teams play was saved by the defense, and that could have been a huge momentum changer for Oklahoma State. Like they were down and they just got a big yard. Like just kick it through the end zone. Those 3 yards are not a matter. But everywhere else, you can't really complain at this point. I know some people kind of wanted to play a little faster pace the second half, but again, if you're controlling the clock,
There's no need to.
when the clock's ticking and you're getting first downs, those possessions start dwindling really fast. I mean, they only had 45 snaps, Oklahoma State. 45 snaps, that's it. 81 snaps for West Virginia to 45. Like, that is just complete dominance. When you can go on the road in the Big 12 against a Mike Gundy team at Oklahoma State, it's been just a horror show for West Virginia and Stillwater. And you put up that kind of performance, that's saying something. That's a different mentality that West Virginia has kind of taken at this point. That they're starting to take the fight to the opponents, and hopefully they can block out all the fans and everything that's going to be said about them in the next week, and can continue to build off what they did.
Yeah, I think that shows growth of a program because I mean that's just I mean that's twice in the last 2 years or the last two trips out there that they've been able to win. And 2 years ago, it was a team that didn't make a bowl game, but that was towards the end of the season. I think it was the last game of the year, if my mind serves me correctly.
Yeah, right.
And Garrett Green gets hurt early in that game. Nico comes in, and they run the ball that game too. And Jalen Anderson actually had a huge game. So I think we're starting to see some growth as a program. But the question that I have coming from this game is, did we misjudge this team after the Pitt game? Because I think everyone, myself included, were probably thinking, oh my goodness, you lose that game the way you did to Pitt. You have the Big 12 schedule that you have, especially the first 5 games. Doesn't look too good. And all of a sudden, again, we go back and revisit the Kansas game. You're down 11 in that game. You're thinking, yeah, here they go. They're going to start to have a snowball effect of a bad year. Maybe guys start entering the portal after the Kansas game, and you really start to lose it. But I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't know what to believe about this team because the two teams they've lost to are a combined 10-0, and by this afternoon, Pitt's going to be in the top 25. So you're going to have two top 25 losses. But the two teams that you beat in the Big 12 are 0-6 in Big 12 play. So I feel like it's more so this team is better than we believe or were believing than it is they just beat up on a couple of teams that have not won a Big 12 game. If you watch the Kansas games and the losses they've had, it's just been a lot of bad luck for them. Like they've had several one-loss scores coming down to the end. Last night too against Arizona State, they gave up a touchdown with 15 seconds left. Like they're just finding ways to lose games late, and I don't really think that's them being a bad football team. And then Oklahoma State, I mean, they've played arguably two of the best teams in the league in Utah, Kansas State, and West Virginia's proven not to be that bad themselves. So how do you gauge this team right now?
I think if you start looking around college football and what happened to Alabama with
Yes,
Simon Vanderbilt,
who would have thought that?
Miami escaped Cal, and just look at all the other losses. I think Tennessee lost to Arkansas. I think you have to take the same approach, really. As cliche it is, just like the team is right now. Want it just one game at a time,
Al
and
Davis, just win, baby.
just one
Just
game
win.
at a time, and just leave it out on the field every single week because even the great Alabama got caught,
Yeah,
and I keep saying Pitt got lucky. There was a lot of crazy calls in that game. It's a rivalry game. Stuff like that happens, and I think you can kind of chalk it up to that. Penn State obviously came in really focused and just outmatched West Virginia. That was just, maybe week three, maybe going into this game, it's probably a little closer game. I still think Penn State gets the edge.
yeah,
Um, but I think if they play Pitt again, it's a different game. Obviously, I mean, they overcame everything and still went up 10 uh, late in the game. So it's that's just a crazy rivalry game. I think they're a lot better than what people thought. I didn't it was hard to really see the positive after that, especially the way they lost. But now you're starting to see a complete flip from this defense. And yes, maybe it is, the talent didn't leave Oklahoma State. And they've been in every game that they did. And whether Oklahoma State quit in the second quarter or whatever it was, maybe just West Virginia kept them on their heels the whole game. So, yeah,
yeah.
you can kind of question everything every single week on what happened and the mentality the guys came in. Were they that beaten up? So I'm going to say that beaten up after the two games. We'll see because really you can make like Pitt hasn't really beat they haven't beat a ranked opponent, right? So Penn State has. They've kind of just been wearing teams out in the second half. They haven't really been dominating everybody in a sense. So it's who knows. I think in today's college football, there's so much roster turnover. At this point, you're really finding a lack of consistency week in, week out. So I think it just really is just 1-0 mentality. Just scheme it up. Everyone just kind of reset. They won last week. It's a brand new
Enjoy
week
it.
starting today. Enjoy it and just move on. Iowa State obviously has a lot of question marks heading into this one as well, even though they're undefeated. So do they have that big key signature win yet? I don't believe so, but we'll kind of see where they're at because it's going to be an extremely tough test for them as well. And Anthony Beck, his son Rocco is the
Yeah.
quarterback. Anthony's going to get honored during the
Bull
game.
rush.
He's going to get honored during the game. So it's night games in Morgantown. We know it can be nightmare fuel for opponents. Iowa State has had their number at times under Matt Campbell. We'll see kind of how it plays out. I mean, it's definitely going to be a battle. I just don't know where this team is really heading right now. I'm not surprised that they're 2-0 in the Big 12. I never had this one as a win, but I had Iowa State as a win. Is that where you trade one of the losses?
Yeah.
West Virginia as a program really kind of needs this win right now. Whether Iowa State is good as their ranking's going to be, whatever it is, they were 16th coming in coming into the
Definitely gonna
weekend.
be top 15.
So yeah, more likely they'll be in the top. There was a lot of losses. They may sneak in the top 10. You never know. They might be 12. There was a lot of losses inside the top 10. So it'll be a great program win if they can get it. But it really is kind of hard to tell how good they are because we don't really know yet. And it's kind of crazy since we're going to head up on the halfway mark
Yeah.
after Iowa
We're still
State.
figuring out where they're
But
at.
it just goes back to like there's just so much turnover in college football right now. There's just not that, yeah, you're getting talent in, but there's a difference when you have, even if it's a three-star recruit that's been in the system 3 or 4 years and understands the scheme. It's a huge difference than bringing in, say, that was a four-star recruit and they're trying to get their feet under them, learning a new scheme. So consistency matters, and right now there's not a lot of it in college football at
No.
all. Georgia did bounce back, but
I mean,
there's a lot
it's Georgia.
there's a lot of teams living on the edge right now, and I think people wanted parity. It may not be the parity quite like you wanted with the transfer portal, but it looks like there's a lot more closer games, and I think even teams that may play Miami close may get blown out the next week. You know what I mean? Like it's just that kind of inconsistency as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you on like enjoying this because I saw so many people after every week. I always ask for the fans' thoughts on Twitter, and there's a lot of people just starting to say, well, I don't know, I can't can't get too excited. Iowa State, we'll see what happens there. I'm just like, look, it's very rare that you can go and do what you just did in Stillwater against a team like that, against a
Absolutely.
future Hall of Fame coach like that. Take the rule of the coach that puts that in place with the team and all across college football and the NFL. Have the 24-hour rule. Celebrate it, enjoy it, soak in it for 24 hours. Once that 24-hour window's up, then you can move your focus to next week. Worry about Iowa State then.
Fans
Until
can
then,
enjoy it till Saturday. They can enjoy it all the
they
way up
can.
until
They
Saturday.
can't.
You
Maybe I
go
should
all the
say.
way to
Maybe I should
kickoff.
say don't complain or start looking or worrying until that 24-hour window's up
Yeah, I
because
would say don't worry about nitpicking. Just enjoy it because at the end of the day, even if they only won by 1 point, it's a
it's a
W.
win,
A win's a win, no matter how
no
it
matter how you
looks.
paint it,
So exactly, like West Virginia doesn't need style points at this point in time. For them to make the playoff, they're going to
especially in
have
this
to win
league.
out. They're going to
It's
have to
just
win out to make the playoff. Like that's they're not going to if they go undefeated till the championship game and lose. Doubt they get a large bid for. So then to make a playoff right now, they have to win. They have to win out.
yeah. Quickly, Iowa State, just a quick glimpse of them. As you said earlier, they haven't played a daunting schedule just yet. The only win that they have that I think is significant to note is Iowa on the road. That's
Significant for that program. That
right.
Iowa's dominated that series,
Absolutely.
especially as of late. As of
Especially in
late,
Iowa.
yeah, yeah. So
Um,
yeah, that's a big. That's a one of those getting over the hump as a program for them.
and they've averaged, I believe, going into this Baylor game, I think they only averaged giving up like a little over a touchdown a game. But here's their opponents: North Dakota, which isn't a bad FCS team, but North Dakota, Iowa, Arkansas State, Houston, who may have arguably the worst offense in Power Four, and then Baylor.
Didn't they just get a win? Didn't they just beat somebody?
They did TCU, but heading into this
Yeah,
weekend, I think their scores against Power Four teams was they got shut out in back-to-back weeks. They had a 7 point game and a
yeah. They're
12 point game.
struggling, but
So
they'll get better. The funny thing is, I remember being told a couple years ago when West Virginia was struggling that Sonny Dykes had figured it out. Um, yeah,
he hit lightning in a bottle. Well, I
yeah.
mean,
I
what do
was
you?
told I was told and seen on Twitter a lot that why can't Neil Brown do what Sonny Dykes did? I'm like,
Yeah,
okay,
and
sure.
Sonny Dykes might be on the hot seat. Maybe not this year, but if results
It's gonna
continue
start
next,
warming up real soon.
yeah. But I mean, Iowa State, like I said, they haven't played a crazy schedule. This is going to be by far their toughest game since the Iowa game, going on the road and playing in an atmosphere that's going to be lathered up and ready to go for this one. I mean, West Virginia fans are going to be rabid for this one. I mean, you're talking about a team that's coming in, going to be in the top 15, like you said, potentially top 10. Last time that there's been a meaningful night game here, I mean, you have to go back to what, 2018, Oklahoma State, or I mean Oklahoma. I
Mhm.
don't really count the backyard brawl because yes, it
Yeah,
was meaningful in a
you
sense,
think
but
you think about that. This is the most since that was before Neil Brown. Obviously, the year before
yeah,
Neil Brown. This is the most rushing yards they've had since Neil Brown's been here.
yeah.
I believe it was the most total yards since Neil Brown here has been here as well. So there's some firsts. And I don't think they've ever started 2-0 under Neil Brown either. So,
Definitely
and
not
Big
3 and
12
0.
play. Yeah, so they're doing little small things, as they say, stacking days or stacking little monumental moments under his regime.
So West Virginia, Iowa State, 8 o'clock on Fox. It's the Coal Rush. Everyone will be wearing black in that stadium. It'll be a pretty cool atmosphere. The first ever Coal Rush, first time the football teams ever wore black uniforms. It's a sharp look, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool look on TV.
Unpopular opinion: I don't like black uniforms on West Virginia.
Oh wow!
Hate it.
You
Hate it.
sound like the folks on Facebook. Black's not a
Old
school
man
color.
shake his fist. No, I just why. That has nothing to do with school colors. It's a silly
I
thing. But I
I
get it. It's a fan thing. It's
yeah,
not up to me. I don't care.
and it's
I
for the
really,
kids. The
it's not a
kids like
hill.
it.
It's not a hill I'm going to die on. But I'm
Right.
just throwing it out there. I do not like black uniforms.
So what
It will be new. So it's a new atmosphere. It's something that hasn't been done. So that is exciting, I guess, in a sense.
yeah. if they win this game, then they're going to be in great shape going against Kansas State because you'll really feel good about that. This is a critical two-game stretch here at home for the Mountaineers. I don't know if they're going to be able to sweep this two-game stand, but if they can, you're talking at 4-0 going to Arizona. You're giving yourself more wiggle room, some more margin for error because in this league, you're going to need it. You're not going to go perfect. Very few teams do. So you're going to lose one along the way. You got to win your home games. And if they can win these next two, they're in great shape with Arizona on the road. Then you have a bye. And then, as we've talked about a million times, that those last four games against Cincinnati, Baylor, UCF, Texas Tech, much easier on paper than what those first five games are on
Texas
league
Tech
play.
is looking a lot more formidable than we thought, and
I
Cincinnati
would
is a
say
lot better than we thought. Because I
they
gave
are.
Cincinnati no chance.
I think Cincinnati's better. I don't believe Texas Tech just yet. They've played Tech or Arizona State, Cincinnati, and Arizona. Arizona, I'll give them credit for. Cincinnati, Arizona State, I don't know what to make of that. That's
But
go
that's not
go
the
beat
same
TC.
Texas. They're finding
They
consistency,
are.
and that's a lot different for Texas Tech. So that's a big shift in my book for Texas Tech. Yeah, the names on the paper, them winning three Big 12, it's the same thing as West Virginia, right? We haven't
Yeah,
seen that type of consistency. That's a big jump for Texas Tech. So
that's
yeah, that game's all of a sudden like we thought the front of it was going to be loaded. Well, the back's not looking so easy all of a sudden. Those aren't easy games as easy as games that we thought they were going to be.
the Texas Tech schedule. I took a peek at it last night. My goodness, I think I would kill to have that. At the back end for them, they got Baylor, TCU, Iowa State, Colorado, Texas Tech, and West Virginia. Much easier than any stretch, really. I would say probably than West Virginia has, but who knows? I feel like no matter what, there's going to be a two-loss team that plays in the Big 12 championship game. This is how it's going to be. There's so much parity in this league. You have no idea from week to week. You think Utah's the clear favorite, then they lose. You think Arizona may be the favorite, then they lose. Kansas State, they lose. Oklahoma State's 0-3. BYU's 5 and like this league is drunk 24/7. So
Right, but if you're going to be that two-loss team, you got to beat the teams that more than likely you're competing against in that, and that's going to be
and win at home.
Iowa State and Kansas State. Yep. So those are the teams you're more likely going to be tied with. So get those home wins.
Yep. So it starts this week against Iowa State. Again, kickoff at 8 o'clock on Fox. That's going to do it for us here today. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Christopher Hall. Make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Give us a follow on X at SI_WVU. Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll have Between the Ears. And on Thursday, we'll have Eugene join me for the Walkthrough Game Day Show, breaking down that matchup between the Mountaineers and the Cyclones. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.